Hi, I'm back for part 2 of food politics. It's good to kind of know, if you live in the United States, we have two branches of government that are involved in food recommendation and policy. So you have the Department of Human and Health Services. Underneath of that is the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and then you have the NIH, National Institute of Health. On this side, you have something called the United States Department of Agriculture, or the USDA. The food production and farmers are really involved with the USDA. And then you have to communicate with NIH and how the food supply affects health and the research-based side. And then you have the FDA who governs food labeling. And so this all kind of started in the 80s and 90s. There's been lots of revisions. Currently in the 2025, you have something called the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, who comes out with guidelines every 5 years. We had it in 2020, it's now in 2025 till 2030, and looks at all the evidence in the last 5 years and what can they do. The revisions to these dietary guidelines hasn't really changed in the last 50 years. Since the 80s, it's been high fiber, lean proteins, low sodium, low fat, low sugar. There hasn't been a huge, strong statement on ultra processed foods, which is typically like candy and soda. Think vending machine foods. But sometimes those foods in those vending machines are not ultra processed. So they're trying to come up with recommendations on a large scale for the public to benefit their health. It just becomes problematic when the FDA has associations with large food industries that make the food, because their goal is different than the public health's goal. And so when money is involved and politics involved, it makes the conversation really hard. And sometimes the public is not privy to the documents or the conversations, because at a high level where you need to be invited into the room, and then people get, they're skeptical of the conversations and their integrity. So paying attention to, when you're looking at documents, who's writing them, where are they coming from, and what's their goal. And hopefully this just gives you a good overview of what government entities you could pay attention to. Stay tuned for part 3.